Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to our walk through the Bible. Today we're looking at the book of John. We're looking at chapter 4. We're looking at the amazing and rich story of the Samaritan woman and the meeting that she had with Jesus at the well. It's actually quite a long chapter, so what we will do today is we will go through half of the story, but it has so much that we can look at and that it teaches us about who Jesus is and also what we can get out of it for our own lives. So I don't want to rush through it, and I don't want this video to take too long either. So let's just start. We're going to go from verse 1 to verse 30 today, and then we will continue in our next episode for the rest of the chapter. So it starts by saying, "Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself did not baptize, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again to Galilee. But he needed to go through Samaria. So he came to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey, sat thus by the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, 'Give me a drink,' for his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. Then the woman of Samaria said to him, 'How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans.' Jesus answered and said to her, 'If you knew the gift of God and who it is who says to you, "Give me a drink," you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water.' The woman said to him, 'Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where then did you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself as well as his son and his livestock?' Jesus answered and said to her, 'Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life.' The woman said to him, 'Sir, give me this water, that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw.' Jesus said to her, 'Go, call your husband, and come here.' The woman answered and said, 'I have no husband.' Jesus said to her, 'You have said well, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. In that you spoke truth.' The woman said to him, 'Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, and you Jews say that in Jerusalem is the place where one ought to worship.' Jesus said to her, 'Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth.' The woman said to him, 'I know that Messiah is coming, who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things.' Jesus said to her, 'I who speak to you am he.' And at this point his disciples came, and they marveled that he talked with a woman, yet no one said, 'What do you seek?' or 'Why are you talking with her?' The woman then left the water pot, went her way into the city, and said to the men, 'Come, see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Could this be the Christ?' Then they went out of the city and came to him." So let's start first with a little bit of background about why the Samaritans and the Jews had no dealings with each other. What had happened in the past was that the 12 tribes of Israel got divided, and the 10 tribes became the northern kingdom, and the capital of the northern kingdom was Samaria. Now, the other 2 tribes were the southern kingdom, and they were the Jews. Now, over time, the people of the northern kingdom had intermarried with non-Jews, and so they had diluted their faith, and they were not seen as pure Hebrews by the Jewish nation. So they were seen and they were treated like outcasts, and therefore culturally it was not the done thing to do to associate with them. Another thing I need to point out is that the status of women at the time was not like it is today. At the time, women were regarded as inferior human beings, also as ones that you wouldn't give the scriptures to or teach the scriptures to. And so even to be seen having a conversation with a woman at a well, that would have an effect on the character of a man. So here we see Jesus that is on Samaritan territory, and he's waiting at the well. And we know that this is not a coincidence, or that he had no choice but to go through there, because we know that Jesus only did what he saw the Father doing and only said what he heard the Father saying. So very intentionally, Jesus needs to be at that point at that time. And why was he there? He was there to meet somebody who God the Father wanted to reach. And at the 6th hour, which is 12 noon, this woman that God wanted to reach out to arrives at the well. Now, why does this woman come to the well at lunchtime, at 12 o'clock, the hottest part of the day? Well, we can see that according to her description, she was a woman that had 5 husbands, and the one she was with was not even her husband. She would have been seen as an outcast even in her own society. So this woman had to come to draw water from the well at a time when no other women would be around, because obviously she was rejected by her own peers. You can say that she was an outcast of the outcasts. But here Jesus comes and he breaks every prejudice in society. And what he does is he asks for a cup of water from a sinner, a woman, and a Samaritan. Her response is not surprising. She says, why would you, a Jew, want or would accept a cup of water from a Samaritan? That breaks my heart when I hear it, that someone would feel that they were not even worthy to give somebody a cup of water because of who they are or where they came from. But you know, what we see here is that the love of the Father is greater than where we come from, what we've done, how we've messed up our lives, and whether we're men or women. God sent his Son to save the least of the least, to save the ones that people did not give worth to, the ones that themselves don't feel worthy, because their worth is not what they've done or who they are, but their worth comes from being created by Father God. I believe that God knew her heart, that despite her mess-ups, she had a heart for God, because we see that she knows about worship and where her people worship. She knows that the Messiah will come, and she's looking forward to the Messiah just as much as the Jews were looking forward to the Messiah. So here Jesus comes and reaches out to her to give her something that the world could never give her, that life could never give her. And we can see that there was a thirst that was never being filled in her life, because she had been with 5 husbands. She was searching for something. She was searching to find a completeness and a fullness that is impossible to find on the earth. But God was coming to bring her something that would fulfill her, that would complete her, and would set her free. But the gentleness of Jesus is so amazing, because he doesn't want to make her feel that she doesn't have anything to give. even though he doesn't need her water. Instead, he chose to ask her to give him the little that she could offer him, so that in exchange he could give her what he could offer her as a gift from God. At the beginning, she couldn't understand how this could be possible because she was trying to see things through her logical mind. She was saying to the stranger that she's just met, "How can you give me a drink? You don't have a cup. This well is deep. How will you possibly draw out water?" But in the end, she chooses to ask for this living water that he's promising. And so he says to her, "Go and bring your husband and come." But Jesus knew that she didn't have a husband. Jesus knew that she had 5 husbands. But he didn't want to expose her. He gave her the opportunity to admit herself, her own sin, so that then he could bring a revelation and an answer to that. Isn't the gentleness of Jesus so beautiful? Isn't his compassion so amazing and nothing like we've ever seen? How many of us are too quick to point out the sins of somebody else or their mistakes? And yet Jesus, who knew all, instead of condemning her, he convicts her heart into sharing the truth. And not only that, but he validates her for actually saying the truth. Jesus knew something about her that no one could know. So she knew that he was sent from God. And that was the key that unlocked her heart to him. But in that encounter, not only did she unlock her heart to him, but he unlocked the greatest secret to her. She was the first one that he chose to tell that he was indeed the Messiah. Jesus chose a sinner, a woman, and a Samaritan to reveal the greatest secret to. Because Jesus didn't come for the perfect. He didn't come for the ones that knew it all. He came for the ones that were imperfect, that were in need of healing, that were in need of a Savior. And he saw the worth in them, which was beyond their circumstances, beyond their life messes. And this is a great lesson for us too. As we look at people around us, let us see their value in them, the value of being created by God. And let's not sideline people because of what they've done or where they come from. Even you, if you feel rejected by people, if you feel judged, if you feel like an outcast for whatever reason, or if you feel that you've messed up and you're not worthy, let me tell you something. To Jesus, you are worthy. To your Father in heaven, your worth was so much that he sent his Son to die for you. That is where your value comes from. And he wants you to come to him and give him what little you have, for him to take it and make it into something beautiful, give you a new start to life, a life that will shine and will lead others to him, which is exactly what happened with the Samaritan woman. When she realized who she was speaking to, this joy came inside of her. Everything else just faded into insignificance. She left her pot there where she had come to draw water. She didn't even care about taking that water back, but she ran back to tell everybody who she had just met. And not only that, she became the first one that was sent with this great news that I have encountered the Messiah. Come and see, could this be the Christ? And someone who they had not given a moment's notice to before, they actually saw something in her that they believed, and they turned and they came out to meet Jesus, to meet the one that changed the circumstances of one person in an instant. Because in all the hardship of her life, her Father had his eye on her. He has his eye on you too. Turn to him. He's waiting for you to meet you and to speak to you. I can't wait to our next episode so that we can see what happens as the disciples come and see this taking place, what happens when Jesus goes to enemy territory, and how the people react to him and what comes out of the rest of the story. See you next week.